do a quick listening test. I'm going to say a sentence in English, but I'm going to skip one of the sounds in one of the words, and I want you to listen and see if you can figure out what sound I'm skipping. Are you ready? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Now, you might have noticed that I actually did not pronounce the D or the D sound in the word hands. I didn't say hands, I just said hands. This is something that commonly happens in fast speech in English, and it has to do with something called consonant clusters. A consonant cluster is when you have more than one consonant together without any vowels in between those consonant sounds. In English, when you have a 3-consonant cluster at the end of a word, you can usually skip the pronunciation of that middle sound. So for example, in the word hands, hands, I didn't pronounce the D. I didn't say hands, hands. I just said hands, right? That's because hands ends with N, D, Z. So I have 3 consonants in a row, and I can skip over that middle D. This happens in other words too. Let's think about a word like months. I usually don't say months, months. I just say months. The word months ends in 3 consonants, so we have N, that TH, th, and then S. Months, months. But in fast speech, I can skip over that middle TH sound and it'll just sound like months. How many months? How many months? Another example is the word fifths. Fifths. Now, usually in fast speech, I wouldn't actually pronounce that middle TH sound. I would just go straight from the F to the S. So instead of fifths, I would just say fifths. Fifths. Oh, it's 3/5. Oh, it's 3/5. Now, when you're looking out for these consonant clusters, remember to pay attention to the consonant sounds and not just the letters. For example, in a word like asked, I asked her a question. This word isn't spelled with 3 consonants in a row. It's actually, the ending is S-K-E-D, right? So we do have a vowel letter there, but there is no vowel sound. Listen to it. I'll say it slowly with all of the sounds. Asked, asked. So even though this word ends in ED, the final sound is actually like a T. It's asked, asked. And so actually this word does end in a consonant cluster. We have S, K, and T. S, K, T. Asked, asked. But again, this falls into that category of a word that ends in 3 consonants, and so we can skip over the middle one, which in this case is going to be the K sound. So instead of saying asked, I can just say asked. I asked her a question. Instead of, I asked her a question. Now, this doesn't happen only in individual words in English. Sometimes you might have a word that only ends in 2 consonants, but the next word might also begin with a consonant, and then you're forming a 3-consonant cluster. So we can apply the same rule in this type of context. For example, the word around, around. This word just ends with 2 consonants, N and D. Around, around. So by itself, it doesn't fall into this category with 3 consonants, so we can't skip any sounds there. But let's say that the word around is followed by the word for. Let's say we're scheduling and my friend asks me, what time should I come over? And I'll say, oh, around 4. Around 4. Well, I actually don't need to pronounce that final D at the end of around now, because since I've connected it to the next word, I actually have 3 consonant sounds in a row. N, D, and then F from the next word. So I can skip over that D. So instead of saying around 4, I can just say around 4. Around 4. What time should I stop by? Around 4. Around 4. Let's look at some other examples. I want to look at what happens when a word that ends in 2 consonants is followed by a word that begins with a vowel versus a word that begins with a consonant. So we just saw around 4 can be pronounced as around 4. Around 4, right? But what if instead of saying around 4, I said around it? Around it. Now I'm not going to skip over that final D sound. I'm actually going to connect it to the beginning of the next word. So now I'm going to say around it. Around it. I'm changing the syllable structure of these words. So I have around 4 versus around it. around it. How about hand me? Hand ends with two consonant sounds, n and d, and then me, is another consonant sound. So I can skip over the d again, and instead of saying hand me, I can say hand me, hand me, hand me the paper. But if the next word that comes after hand begins with a vowel, for example, out, instead of deleting that d sound, I'm actually going to connect it to the beginning of the next word again. So it'll be handout, handout. So I have hand me versus handout. How about the word left? Left. This word ends in two consonants, so we have f and then t. If left is followed by the word the, then we have another consonant sound there, the. So it's going to be left the. I can skip that middle t sound. But if the next word after left is actually out, then instead of saying left the and skipping the t, I'm going to say left out, left out. The t gets connected to the beginning of the next word. So left the versus left out, left out. If you're a fan of advanced pronunciation and listening skills like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel here below. Here at Inglés na Hora, we focus specifically on teaching advanced English skills.